You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains.
Welcome back. Here's a look at some of the political headlines of the past week. Governor Abbott appointing Judge Anne Marie Carruth to the 72nd District Court for Crosby and Lubbock County. She'd been the judge of County Court at Law Number 3 and had been a local justice of the peace, but her style will be perfect to try and fill the shoes of Judge Ruben Reyes, who did a lot for folks in that job until passing from COVID a few weeks ago. Judge Carruth will fill the term, which expires in December of 2022. Lubbock State Senator Charles Perry has received his committee assignments for the new session. He'll chair the Committee for Water, Agriculture, and Rural Affairs, which has really become his specialty. Being on finance and redistricting is also a big deal. President Trump's first public appearance after the Capitol violence came in Texas, visited the town of Alamo just outside of McAllen this week, thanking Border Patrol and the Army Corps of Engineers for completing a large section of border wall. Hundreds gathered to hear him speak as state Democrats called the whole trip a waste of time. And there's word the administration is trying to hurry and award new contracts to build 300 additional miles of fencing before Mr. Trump leaves office on Wednesday. And we mentioned the Capitol violence. Former Midland mayoral candidate Jenny Cudd was arrested after broadcasting her experience at the riots on Facebook Live. I'm told she used to live here in Lubbock. In the post, she says, quote, "We tore down the doors to Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office," although she later backtracked on that, saying she was referring to the group as a whole. Cudd also says she received several death threats at her florist shop. She and another Midland resident now face Class A and Class B misdemeanor charges. Lubbock Congressman Jody Arrington's co-sponsored a new bill now dealing with election reforms, bouncing off his recent floor speech during the electoral vote certification. He talked with us about that on the show last week, and there were a lot of folks mad about it. The left mad at me for not asking more about his stance on the president's behavior. The far right mad at him for questioning the president's behavior to begin with. I asked him on the news earlier this week what he'd heard from constituents about his recent decisions. And let's play some of that for 5 good minutes.
Well, I mostly get attaboys from folks who believe the way I believe and see things the way I see them. I think you would be completely unobjective and have no credibility if you didn't recognize that the president has had frequent problems with his rhetoric from time to time, and that he didn't respond forcefully and meaningfully like he should have and could have surrounding January 6th. But to try to criminalize his rhetoric is a dangerous and slippery slope. We have to protect the Constitution's fundamental guarantee of freedom to speak, even if you don't like it. That's the whole notion. It's the disdainful speech that you have to protect as much as the speech that you're cheering on. And look, I try to play it the way I see it. I think that impeachment, along with a lot of other things about the Congress and the Constitution, have been weaponized over the last 4 years. And I think it is dangerous for us to play into that, because it's going to be on both sides. It's going to be tit for tat, and we're going to lower the bar, and we're going to get ourselves in a position where we cannot govern this great country and we cannot keep the union together.
10 Republican members of the House decided to vote to impeach the president. You, of course, did not. Given the information out there and the pressure from certain circles, was there any thought in your mind of changing your vote?
Not at all. I had resolve on the electoral count to object on constitutional grounds, and the process was flimsy and not even serious. It was a knee-jerk reaction. I believe a continuation of the politically motivated and manufactured impeachment from day one with this president. That's not to say the president hasn't given fodder to Democrats and others who've been critical of him, and it's not to say that he has exercised the best of judgment surrounding January 6th, and I have been very clear about that. But there is no basis, legally or constitutionally, to impeach the president. There's no due process built into this, so it's not serious. It's going nowhere, and in that regard, it's not serious. And by the way, I think it is absolutely tone deaf for people to continue with this process at a time when our nation needs to heal and we need to be looking forward, not backwards. I mean, he's conceded. The vote counts are certified. We're transitioning to a new administration, and that peaceful transition of power is as American as it gets, except some have chosen to get stuck once again on obsessing over President Trump's personality and style instead of focusing on all the great things that have occurred under his leadership and standing together as a unified leadership to condemn violence and to say that we all are responsible for the bad climate and the charged political environment that we have. All of us have to do a better job there.
There had been an option to censure the president if that had made it to the floor instead of the impeachment. Would you have voted for that?
I criticized the president as I thought was appropriate. I think to try to make these formal disapprovals and censorship or impeachment, and certainly censorship is below that, and I respect those who decided to move forward with it. But if we apply the standards of censorship or impeachment to other members of Congress, Democrat or Republican, I'm afraid we'd have to throw the whole lot of them in jail because they've all contributed. I mean, think about the message of getting in people's face and shouting at them that they're not welcome here. That was Maxine Waters. What about referring to Republicans as enemies of the state from Nancy Pelosi? And I'm not picking on just the Democrats, but we cannot be a double standard. We cannot equivocate that it is wrong, and it is our responsibility as leaders as a whole, and leaders at all levels, quite frankly, to begin diffusing things, ratchet things down. Let's have conversations and debates on the substance of the policies that will either help or hurt our country. And if you can't do that, and if you can't engage in that way, then it's going to be difficult to govern and to give our children something in the way of a country they can be proud of, and to set an example for them of what leadership looks like in the greatest country in the world.
Of course, now the impeachment process is in the Senate. New president coming next week. New Congress is in with the Democrats as a majority. What's the way forward now? There's a lot of unity talk, and we're going to hear more of it through the next week plus. Is that realistic with the day-to-day work there?
I'm going to do everything I can to find common ground with my Democrat colleagues and this administration, and I'm going to do everything I can to oppose them when I think they're taking us down the path of socialism or trying to implement policies that are contrary to American values. But I will do that respectfully, and I will do that with passion, but without hopefully contributing to an inflamed situation and a charged and overcharged political climate. That's my goal.
It's not always easy. That's sort of the moral of this story. Congressman Jody Arrington, thank you for a few minutes, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
God bless. Go West Texas.